At a family barbecue, I smiled and said, "I can't wait for the cruise next month." My dad said, "We got back 3 days ago." Then my sister smirked and showed me a video. Pool deck. Laughter. Even my card paid for it. I just turned around and walked straight to my car. The next morning, they found a letter at their door and started screaming. I found out my family went on a luxury cruise without me because my sister shoved her phone in my face and hit play on a video of them partying on the pool deck. It was a hot Saturday afternoon. My parents had invited everyone over for a barbecue, and like an idiot, I showed up with drinks and chips, thinking it was just another family thing. They were already laughing when I got there, like something had happened I wasn't in on. Midway through the afternoon, while I was reaching into the cooler, I said, half joking, "Can't wait for the cruise next month. Been looking forward to it." My dad, flipping burgers, just kind of blinked at me. "We got back 3 days ago," he said. I thought he was joking, just messing around. But then Emily, my sister, was already pulling out her phone like she couldn't wait for this moment. She tapped through a few screens, gave me that look she always gives when she's about to drop something smug, and held it out. Video starts with music blasting the pool deck of a cruise ship. My dad in sunglasses dancing like a maniac. My mom laughing with a cocktail in her hand. Then Emily swings the camera toward herself, smiling, sunburnt, relaxed. Everyone looked happy. Everyone looked like they'd been having the time of their lives. I watched in silence as she flicked to a second clip. Dinner on the ship, my parents clinking wine glasses. My name came up when my dad mentioned the trip being on the house, followed by more laughter. Then came the photo, cruise confirmation, my billing address, my card number partially blurred. My name, it was the card I'd given them last month when they said they couldn't afford groceries. I didn't say a word, didn't ask why, didn't yell. I just turned around, walked across the lawn, got in my car, and drove home. Left the chips behind. I didn't sleep that night, sat on the edge of my bed trying to figure out what hurt more. The fact that they didn't invite me, or the fact that they used my money to celebrate without me. Maybe it was both. Maybe it was that I didn't even feel surprised. Just stupid for not seeing it sooner. My family's always been like this. My parents take. Emily covers for them. I tried to play the good son, keep things calm. Uncle Ray is the only one who ever treated me like a person. But he wasn't there that day. Didn't know about the trip either, apparently. Turns out I wasn't the only one they kept in the dark. The next morning, I drove over and got my card back. Told my mom I needed it for work. She handed it over like it was no big deal. Then I went home and printed out the letter. Short, direct, effective. I wrote that I would no longer be making payments on their mortgage. I'd been helping cover it since January. Quietly, no thanks, no repayment plan, just helping out because they were in a tight spot. I dropped it in their mailbox on my way to work. No name, no signature, just a copy of the paperwork showing I'd removed myself officially. By 8:15 a.m., the storm started. My phone lit up like a Christmas tree. My mom, my dad, Emily. Voicemails that started calm and turned to shouting. Texts full of question marks, all caps, rage, and guilt-tripping nonsense. I didn't reply to any of it. By 10 a.m., they were outside my apartment. I didn't open the door. I could hear them outside, my dad pacing, my mom muttering something about, "How could he?" and Emily trying to keep the peace. I stayed inside, sipping burned dealership coffee from the day before, staring out the window like I was watching a weather report. I knew exactly what kind of storm this was. The knocks kept coming for maybe 5 minutes, then stopped. A car door slammed. I waited. Then another knock, softer this time. Uncle Ray. I opened it. He stood there with a look I hadn't seen on anyone else lately. Confused, not angry. Genuinely confused. He asked what was going on. Why my parents were yelling about betrayal and how I'd ruined everything. I told him, not everything, just the basics, cruise, my card, mortgage, the works. He was silent for a full minute, just taking it in. Then he looked down, shook his head, and said he had no idea they went on a cruise. Said they told him they were staying home because money was tight. That was when I knew they'd lied to him too. He apologized even though he didn't need to. Then he left without saying much else. I think he was angry but didn't know where to put it yet. That evening, the real fun started. My dad sent a long, furious text about what it meant to be family. He mentioned loyalty about 5 times, said I was cold-hearted, and then accused me of abandoning them in their time of need. My mom followed up with a voice message where she was crying. Something about how I humiliated them in front of the neighbors because now everyone would know they couldn't pay the mortgage on their own. Then they tried Emily. She called around 9 p.m., said they were just treating themselves and didn't think it would be this big of a deal. Said I was overreacting and that maybe if I hadn't been so distant lately, they would have invited me. That one made me laugh. I reminded her that I was the one who drove them to appointments, covered bills, brought groceries when they said they couldn't manage. That I was distant because I was tired of being used. She didn't have much to say after that. That night, I blocked all 3 of them. The next morning, I walked into the dealership like nothing happened, cleaned out a used Tacoma, sold an Ultimate to a couple from Jersey, went to lunch alone, came back to find a voicemail waiting Uncle Ray again. He said I should probably check my parents' Facebook pages. So I did. They posted a long dramatic status accusing me of elder abuse, that I financially manipulated them, that I abandoned them after promising support, and even said I'd hacked their account and stole funds. Emily shared it. A few cousins commented things like, "Praying for you and can't believe he'd do that." I didn't reply. I printed every screenshot and filed them. They wanted a war. Fine. I just wasn't going to fight it the way they expected. The first time you realize your own parents are willing to lie about you to protect their pride, something breaks. Not loudly, not with anger. It's quiet, like a snap in the cold. They'd written the post like they were victims, like I hadn't been the one bailing them out every month. According to them, I was the villain, the estranged son who stole from them. Emotionally manipulative, sick. Emily shared it with one of those vague captions about how family is supposed to lift each other, not tear each other down. The comments were full of sympathy, prayers, concern, people offering them help. A couple of relatives messaged me asking what was happening. I didn't answer anyone. Not yet. Instead, I started documenting. I saved every post, every comment, every message. I dug up the bank statements showing the exact cruise charge. Matched the date with the video Emily had smugly shown me. I printed it all out. Then I got the mortgage paperwork, the copy where I'd been listed as a co-signer 6 months earlier, and a letter confirming I'd pulled out. After work, I made a stop at a small office near the courthouse. A lawyer, not flashy, just a name I got from a coworker at the dealership. I explained everything, laid it all out, let him see what kind of people I was dealing with. He didn't look surprised. Said, "People do stupid things when they feel entitled." He asked if I was planning to sue. No, not yet. He helped me file a police report. Nothing aggressive, just a statement, a record. If they escalated, it wouldn't be my word against theirs. He said it was good. I acted fast. Defamation was a tricky thing, but using my card for a luxury trip without consent, that was clean, solid. The next day, I sent Uncle Ray a full package of everything. Didn't explain it. Just let the facts do the talking. He called that night, said nothing at first, just breathed into the line. Then he said he'd go over there and speak to them himself. He didn't scream. That wasn't but later he told me the room went quiet when he laid the papers on their table. My parents didn't deny any of it. My mom started crying. My dad kept saying it was miscommunication. Ray told them if they didn't delete the post and make it right, he was cutting off every bit of support, groceries, gas, money, everything. By morning, the Facebook posts were gone. Emily posted something vague about healing and choosing love over conflict. No apologies, no correction, just enough to make it look like they were the bigger people. I didn't care. I had what I needed. Then 3 days later, my dad showed up at my job. I was in the back finishing paperwork on a Civic sale when I got paged. "Benjamin, your father is at the front desk." My stomach sank. I walked out to the showroom and saw him standing there with that fake calm look he always used when he was about to blow up. I didn't even stop, walked straight to my manager's office, shut the door, and told him everything. I laid it out in plain language. My family might try to cause problems. I didn't want it to touch the dealership, but I needed them to know. He nodded, said he appreciated the heads up, called security without asking questions. They walked my dad out while I stayed in the office. My manager peeked out once and said, "He's shouting something about being robbed." I didn't even flinch. Next morning, I walked to my car and saw it. Thief carved into the driver's side of my Civic. Deep, not random vandalism. This was deliberate. I called the cops, filed a report, showed them the police statement from earlier. They took photos, said they'd look into it, but I already knew how this would go. No cameras, no witnesses, no confession. So I installed my own camera on the lot. Small, discreet motion triggered. I parked right under it the next day. I didn't tell anyone what I was planning next. Not the dealership, not Uncle Ray, but I'd made a decision. They wanted me to play the bad guy. Fine. It was time they learned what it actually looks like when I stopped caring. It took 6 days for the camera to catch something. I was working a late shift at the dealership when the alert came through. Motion detected near my car. I pulled out my phone and opened the app. The image was blurry at first, but it cleared up fast enough. Emily hoodie up, face turned slightly away, but the way she moved was unmistakable. She crouched next to my tire, pulled something out of her sleeve and jabbed. I watched her slash my front left tire in real time. She didn't even rush, just stood up, looked around once, and walked off like she had nothing to worry about. I sent the footage to the police. This time they responded quickly. The officer who came to take the statement actually seemed angry. Said if I pressed charges, they could bring her in. I said yes. That was the first time I didn't hesitate. Word got around fast. Emily was picked up that weekend, not handcuffed, but escorted, cited for property damage, then released. I didn't go to court that time, just filed everything through my lawyer. But suddenly, the tone shifted. My mom called again, left a voicemail that was practically sobbing, said I was destroying the family. Bad I'd ruined Emily's life. My dad didn't say anything for 2 days, then sent a single text. Hope you're proud of yourself. I didn't respond. Instead, I mailed them a bill. Full breakdown, cost of the tire, repainting the side panel they scratched, installation of the camera, plus a printed copy of the footage. Not out of pettiness, just clarity. It arrived on a Tuesday. That Thursday, I came home from work to find my apartment door unlocked. Nothing was missing, but they'd been inside. The couch cushions were tossed, a few drawers open. Someone had taken the photo of me and Uncle Ray off the wall and left it face down on the table. I sat on the edge of the bed and just stared at it. I changed the locks that night, called the landlord the next morning, told him everything. We checked the security system. It showed 2 people entering with a key. My old key, the spare I'd given my mom 3 years ago when she said she needed it just in case. That was my mistake. I should have changed it the day I dropped off the letter. I filed another report, called my lawyer. This time we pushed harder. Temporary restraining order against both my parents and Emily. It wasn't easy and it wasn't fast, but we had enough now. The misuse of my card, the Facebook defamation, the vandalism, the break-in. The judge approved it. Uncle Ray came by with coffee the morning after it went through. Sat on the balcony with me while I processed it. He didn't say much. Just took you long enough. And yeah, it had. But they weren't going to back down. Not without trying one more thing. And I wasn't done either. I thought the restraining order would be the end of it. That maybe, just maybe, it would finally knock something into them. Make them realize they couldn't just twist everything to get what they wanted. Didn't. They stopped contacting me directly. But that didn't mean they were done. They just changed tactics. It started with whispers. A few coworkers at the dealership suddenly got weird around me. Not cold, just hesitant. One of them, Jeremy, finally pulled me aside during a lunch break and said my dad had shown up at his church. Talked to a few people there. Said I'd been embezzling from the family, leeching off my parents, mentally unstable. Then came the flyers. Yeah, flyers. I came outside one morning to find a stack of them under my windshield wiper. One was taped to the door of the dealership. They looked like lost dog posters, except instead of a dog, it was my face. Cropped from an old photo, badly printed, and underneath it, a list of made-up things. stole from his own mother, filed false police reports. Beware, liar and fraud. I took them down quietly, didn't tell anyone at work. Instead, I mailed copies to my lawyer. That same week, Emily violated the restraining order. She showed up at my apartment again, this time with flowers and some ridiculous handwritten letter about forgiveness and bringing the family back together. I didn't open the door, just called the cops from inside and waited until they picked her up. That was the last straw. I told my lawyer I wanted to press everything. He filed for defamation officially, cited the flyers, the false accusations, the impact on my job. We pushed for damages, not because I wanted money, but because I wanted the paper trail, something legal, permanent, a consequence. That's when the real reversal started. Turns out they weren't as financially stable as they made it seem. I already knew the mortgage was hanging by threads. What I didn't know was that they had maxed out their own cards before ever touching mine. The cruise was just the tip. There were loans, debts, late notices stacking up like junk mail. They were scared not just of losing face but of losing everything. Uncle Ray told me my dad tried to get him to co-sign a refinance. Told him they were being blackmailed. Ray laughed in his face and walked out. Then the eviction notice came. Not for me, for them. Their mortgage defaulted a month after I pulled out. Turns out my payments were the only thing keeping the bank from moving forward. That was when my mom showed up at Uncle Ray's crying, begging, said they were going to be homeless, that it was my fault. Ree told her they made their choice, that using me like an ATM, and then dragging my name through the mud wasn't something you come back from. She left screaming. That night, I got a voicemail from my dad. 2 minutes of silence. Then finally just one sentence. You think you won? Huh? I didn't respond because he was wrong. This wasn't about winning. It was about finally being done. After the voicemail, things went quiet. I didn't trust it. No flyers, no calls, no surprise visits. Their social media pages went dark, and Emily hadn't posted in weeks. Even the neighbors, the ones who used to smile and nod like they were in on the family act, started keeping to themselves. I figured maybe they'd finally accepted it, that this was where the road ended. I was wrong. It was a Friday when I got a call from an unknown number. Normally, I'd ignore it, but something in me said, pick up. It was someone from Child Protective Services. I froze. They asked if I had a child. I said, no. They asked if I was currently harboring a minor who had been taken from their legal guardians. I didn't understand. I asked what they meant. They told me a report had been filed under my name, anonymous, but they had reason to believe it came from a concerned family member. The report said I'd kidnapped a child, claimed I was holding them at my apartment. There was a moment where I honestly didn't know whether to laugh or scream. I asked them to come by, showed them my place. No kids, no crib, not even a visitor. The agent apologized, said it happens more than people think. False reports, vindictive calls. They had to investigate even when it was clearly garbage. I knew exactly who made that call. It was the most dangerous thing they'd done yet. If I hadn't handled it calmly, that could have gone very differently. And I realized then they didn't care if they got caught. They were trying to break me, sabotaged my life from every angle. But here's the thing. I had one last card they didn't know about. Uncle Ray months earlier had asked me to help him get his affairs in order. Wills, documents, all that. I'd filled out some forms for him, and in the process he added something I didn't expect. Power of attorney, financial, and medical. He trusted me more than anyone. So, I made a quiet call, told him everything. The CPS stunt, the flyers, the lies, the break-in. I didn't ask him to do anything. I just vented. He asked for a week. 7 days later, my parents were served, not by me, but by Ray's lawyer. Turns out Ray owned 40% of their house. Bought in quietly after my dad lost half his retirement to bad investments. Never bragged about it, never used it against them. Until now, he gave them an ultimatum. Vacate the property or buy him out immediately. If they refused, he'd force a sale. They tried to bluff. Said they'd sue him. He laughed and said, "Try me." Emily tried to intervene. Ray handed her a manila envelope. Inside were copies of every police report, every screenshot, and a letter from my lawyer outlining a potential countersuit if they kept pushing false claims. The house went up for sale 3 weeks later. Last I heard, my parents moved into a small rental 2 towns over. Emily moved back in with a friend from college. No one's spoken to me since, but 2 days ago I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo. It was from that cruise, the one I didn't go on. My mom, dad, and Emily standing on the deck, arms around each other, smiling wide. On the back, someone had written in shaky pen, "Still a family without you." I put it back in the envelope, tossed it in the shredder. Still a family without me. Good. That's exactly what I wanted. A few weeks passed. Quiet once. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe without checking over my shoulder. The house sold fast, faster than anyone expected. Ray called to let me know it closed for just enough to cover the remaining mortgage and his share. My parents didn't see a cent. I didn't ask where they went after the rental. Didn't care. The paperwork was done. My name was clean, and legally I was fireproof. But the damage they'd done still showed up in weird places. One of the cousins, Jenna, who used to invite me to Thanksgiving potlucks, unfollowed me on everything. Another cousin messaged me asking if it was true that I'd turn on my own family for money. I didn't respond. That's the thing about a family like mine. People don't want facts, they want sides. And if you stop sacrificing yourself, suddenly you're the traitor. Work stayed steady. I was back to selling cars, keeping my head down. The dealership asked if I wanted to transfer to a different location just for a clean break. I almost said yes, but I decided to stay. I wasn't the one who had to run. Then about a month after the letter with the photo, something unexpected happened. Ree invited me over for dinner. Just the 2 of us. Nothing formal. Burgers on the grill, a 6-pack in a cooler, his dog snoring under the table. He waited until we were halfway through eating before he pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. I opened it and saw something that made me sit up straight. It was his will. Dated. He'd left most of what he owned to a charity, a scholarship fund. But there was a section underlined with my name. It wasn't about money. It was the house, the little cabin up north, the one we used to visit once a year when I was a kid. I hadn't been back in forever, but I remembered the lake, the trees, the old canoe that leaked a little. He said it was mine now whenever the time came because I stood up when it mattered. I didn't know what to say. Then he added, "By the way, you might want to change your number. I heard your mom's been asking around for it again." Of course. So I did. Got a new number, wiped the old one, deleted every voicemail I'd kept just in case I needed evidence. The past was documented, secured, and finally behind me. I took a weekend off not long after and drove up to that cabin. It was still there, a little more worn down than I remembered, but it felt like something real, something no one had touched. I sat out by the lake that night, phone off, no noise except the water. I didn't feel angry anymore, just done. And that, for the first time in my life, felt like peace.